Welcome everybody to another daring, delightful episode of Cinepresto. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about something that follows up from yesterday's video. I mentioned a little bit about how Ashanti was wrong. And of course, we all know Ashanti was wrong. I really didn't need to even make that video to make my point clear, because he's absolutely wrong. The Great Divide is the worst episode of Avatar. But I'd like to reframe the series for you guys now too. Now, I actually watched the finale again last night with my father. This is his first time watching the whole series in a single run through, and we actually loved most of the series and whatnot, but I think the ending has now stuck out to me a little more as an adult. You see, when I was a kid, I was absolutely in love with Avatar. I loved everything about it. I loved that ending. It was perfect to me when I was a kid, but as an adult watching it back, I think it left me a little bit unsatisfied with how the dramatic plot points could have finished it up. And I'd like to present to you guys the thesis today. What if the ending of Avatar kind of proves that Zuko is the main character of the series? Now hear me out here, okay? We all know that Aang is framed as the main character. He's the titular character, Avatar, the last airbender, right? But have you guys ever considered that most of the dramatic elements all happen in Zuko? Think about it. Aang is largely a static character in the similar way to a Goku character, for example. You have a character that already is largely enlightened, perfect, and changes the world the way that he sees fit. I think that works very well. Whereas Aang is kind of handed his answers in the form of the turtle lion coming over and just getting hit on the back with a rock. Zuko is the one who's mainly given the choices in the finale, and that counts for a lot. See, to me, what really makes a whole character arc very much finite is the fact that you are given choices throughout the story and you're allowed to finish that arc out. In Steins Gate, one of my favorite things, as you guys know, spoilers, Okabe is given the choice to actually continue or to give up throughout the entire plot. That's pretty much the whole plot of the visual novel is, do you give up where you are or do you continue on? That's a choice. That's an active choice he's being given. That's why Steins Gate, to me is one of the best plotted and structured out storylines ever. He's constantly being given that choice and he's constantly being forced to reevaluate what it costs, what he has to sacrifice in order to take that next step. Aang does not have to do any of that. In the finale, he's largely just given this very, very insurmountable task. Do I take the life of the Fire Lord? Or do I hold steadfast in my values and do I not end his life, right? If he does, then he's sort of giving away that identity of his, right? He's the last airbender, right? If he gives up on his values as the last airbender, then the air nomads are truly dead, right? At the same time, he is also given the choice to actually save the world, right? If he doesn't end the Fire Lord's life, then everything could come crashing down. But they just kind of provide that answer to him. They give him, he's not even consciously allowed to go over to the lion turtle. He just kind of daydreams and then he gets the ability. I would have personally preferred if he had actually been forced to actually come to terms with his prior mistake. I did like the idea that maybe that chakra talk with Guru Patik, he'd have to seek him out again, and maybe he would have to try to relearn and to really reformat his thinking so that way he could reach the Avatar state again and find the answer that way, because that would be a good way for him to earn that, right? I like how in book 2, that's an entire plot point. He gets this whole Luke Skywalker Empire Strikes Back moment where he goes to Guru Patik, he trains a little bit, but he chooses his friends over the universe because that's who Aang is. If you think about it from that perspective, then wouldn't it have been great if he had gone back to Guru Patik and then sought some more training in order to figure that solution out? That said, that's a what if statement. Maybe I'll make another video on that. But for now, I'd like to go back to the idea that Zuko is really the main character of that finale. Because here's the truth. His finale wraps up his story arc perfectly. And when I say perfectly, I mean perfectly. Because he's a really flawed prince the whole time. He is given more of a Vegeta arc, and largely he's a tragic hero, right? He is a prince who has fallen from grace, and what he has to do is redeem himself. He has to redeem his honor, right? The whole time. And the whole idea is that the realization of what his honor is should not come from his family. It should come from within himself. It should come from the relationships and the lives that he chooses to fix. The moment that really cements it for me is when he has to go talk to Uncle Iroh again. Because he spent an entire season estranged from the guy. And he has to apologize for a mistake he's made to somebody that he's hurt. That's such a grounded and relatable moment. And I think I'm not the only one who says that that's probably the most emotional bit of that entire finale for them. He has to correct his wrongdoings. That's the entire theme that his whole storyline was building up to. And it's a moment that's so well earned and just well executed in every regard. When it comes to the finale, it's set in the most perfect place that it could be. Zuko is forced to confront his sister Azula in a location which represents everything that he decides to rebel against. He fights at the temple where the coronation is supposed to happen, and they fight in this courtyard and whatnot. I think that was a brilliant choice because it absolutely represents just how far he's come. He's returning back home to the place, and he's fighting in a challenge which started his whole journey. The Agni Kai, which at first defined his character, suddenly is a place where he can actually resolve his character arc. What happens next is probably some of the best writing. I think that his fight with Azula was a lot more interesting upon my rewatch, simply because it was really incredible to see how each of them have changed. There's a great scene, I think maybe 2 episodes before the finale, where Zuko is falling off the side of the air temple, and then Azula is falling as well. As Azula descends into madness, she only has herself to prop herself back up out there, but then Zuko is swiftly picked up by Appa and the friends that he's gained. And it comes right back down to that, right? Because he is given the choice to fight her alone, right? But ultimately, it's his choice to actually redeem himself because he betrayed Katara back in book 2. He's the one who actually takes the lightning blast for her. It makes absolute sense that he'd be willing to give his full trust to her. She actually is the one to heal him this time. So remember back in book 2, she said, "Oh, I'm going to heal your scar. I'm going to heal your new scar instead." And I think that little character arc tied itself together perfectly. Azula's left in chains, just soaking wet, complete mess. It's just satisfying in every way on the emotional level, as opposed to the fight between Ozai and Aang, which when I was a child I thought it was extremely flashy, extremely cool, definitely still undisputed. It's still an incredible masterwork in American animation, the fact that they're able to execute everything and all those moving parts. But I guess, as an adult, I want to see a character make a choice when it counts, right? And that's where you see character growth. And that's where you see where a character is really made of, because they may think one thing of themselves, but it's their actions that truly define them. And that, to me, is why I think Zuko is truly the main character of Avatar: The Last Airbender. So what'd you think of this video? This was a little bit of a longer discussion. I just kind of wanted to go into my thoughts for a 15-year-old children's show that I'm still obsessed with. So it's an amazing ride. I've been having a lot of fun rewatching Avatar on Netflix again with my dad, actually. Let me know if you want to see any more content like this. It's a little bit different from what I've done before, and I've definitely wanted to try to do more in-depth discussions like this too. So, what about you? Do you think that Zuko is the main character of Avatar: The Last Airbender? Or am I speaking out of my blowhole? Feel free to tell me in the comments. And remember, please hit like, subscribe, and see you in the next video. I got a Steins Gate video coming out tomorrow. I'll see you there.